Welcome to part 8 of my building the HMS Victory, this micro ship, pretty small. And obviously you can tell I've made some progress. These yard arms, if they look crooked, they actually can move. So I've accomplished quite a bit. Some of these segments may seem a little long, but it's because I try to go into detail for someone that is a new builder. That's what I created this for. Not that I'm an expert. Segment 9, I hope it'll deal with the rope work, which I've actually already started. I just don't have enough room in this segment to include that. So let me give you a quick view of the ship and show you what I've accomplished. Quite some time ago, I purchased this. This is for jewelry making and to take wire and make it, force it to go thinner. It was on sale and I thought I would use it. I never have until now. One of the yards here is supposedly only 1.5 millimeters, but they only give you the 2 millimeters. I would recommend just go ahead and using it at this size, but since I had this, I went ahead and worked one down so you can tell it's smaller. So I will use this that I made by painstakingly pushing this through and pulling it back out and keep going smaller, smaller, smaller. I can't recommend one of these. It's just very hard to do. You can see where I'm at, and what I've done, I'm just putting these on some painter's tape so that they won't roll away from me by sides as I cut them to size. It looks like I'm on the main mast and the one that is 50 millimeters in length and 1.5 millimeters in diameter. Here are the yard arms, and this would be the mizzen mast, which is at the back, the main mast, the tallest one in the center, and the foremast. I haven't figured out why there are so many for the foremast, but I'll work that out for you. I will also list out the measurements in the description for this video because this would be too hard for you to write down while you're watching the video. Same thing with all my writings on here. So I will translate this over on some sort of a written form. Or you can always contact me and I can email you a document with these on it. I have all the yards lined up. As you can see, I've kind of marked the length. And I went out and purchased this through Amazon. It's the actual ship, and it gives some really good photographs. You can see there's like a netting here that I could put on the ship that isn't in the instructions. It shows where the anchor rope line is and the holes in the ship. I'll add that. Here's the actual back of the ship, and it's changed colors over the years. At one time they did it this almost a mustard yellow. They've gone away from that. The historical records are showing it was more like this, more of a tan. The amount of rope work is astronomical. We're not going to do that to that extent, and a lot of this block and tackle we will not be doing. This ship is just too small. I've done some more research trying to get information on the masts and the yards. For some reason there were like 5 yards or 4, when in reality there's 3. On the lower 2 there are these little booms that go out and they extend just a little further, and I built a ship once that had those. Top one does not, but that's the actual ship. However, they also highlight in this book a model that someone has built of the ship, and it shows 4 sails. I don't think the actual ship had 4. I think it has 3 with those crossbars, or not crossbars, with these poles. I think I'm leaning on switching and doing this. I'm going to have to make those, but that's simple. Just a small dowel. So that's what I'm leaning towards. Or you can go this route. I'm not hanging sails on mine, and looking at the instructions, it only shows 3 sails. I will put a link in the description of this video down along the bottom to the left. You may have to scroll through some other things too, but it's available there if you're interested. This is one of the yards, and there's a couple things I do that are not shown anywhere in the instructions. First of all, you need to taper these down. So the full thickness in the center, tapered down on the outside edge like you did the mast, but this time you're going to taper down both sides. And then, I don't know if you can see, but this kind of looks almost like an oar handle. You need to take the end and just make yourself a little groove there, because there's a rope that you're going to tie around that. So each one on both ends, you need to have that indentation. I do it on a belt sander. I'll show you a little video clip of that. This is just a sample piece, it's scrap. And when you're doing yards, again, you need to taper them from the inside out. So this would stay full thickness, and then you taper down just enough so you can see it visually. And then on the ends, I just put a pencil mark there to show you what I was doing. I'm going to take this and roll it and make a cut, not too deep, you know, but all the way around. And what you're doing is making a ledge so that then you can come back with some sort of a knife, razor blade, and knock that off. There are a couple ways to do it. This is the hard way, in my opinion. And what you're trying to go for is you're making it look, well, I make it look like a little, like the handle of an oar. My little cut wasn't deep enough. Also, you need to be careful. Sometimes if you're using a razor blade and you go the wrong way, you'll cut yourself. This little square-ended one works pretty well for this. So I would have to continue that all the way around. You know me, I like to do it the easy way. So here we are again with my handy dandy belt sander, and I will tilt this edge, not straight. If you want, you can make it pretty much a straight piece. I just like making it look like a little bit of an oar handle. So I'll do this at an angle, and you'll see I'll get this pretty much the same effect. And you can fine tune that as much as you want. But I've also done it where it's just a straight edge. Let me show you what I mean. Either one of those will work. And on this particular set, that one looks better. Now that's a little exaggerated possibly. It depends on the thickness of the yard you're working on or the dowel. You know, obviously if it's a real thin one, you won't be able to go very deep at all. But, and what you're going to have is you're going to have a rope that's going to go here and be tied on, and then go somewhere else. And I'm not tying it, but here we can. So you're going to have ropes coming off of that. Then another thing that I'm doing a cheat, and that is drilling a hole dead center and then putting one of these little eye hooks in. Then on the mast, this hole's in the wrong place, but it'll give you an idea what I'm talking about. Then on the masts, I also drill a hole. Now this I think is too high, so I'll drill the hole down just a little bit further. And what that does is it gives me a solid point, and then I can adjust these with the rope work. You don't want that on solid. You want it to be flexible. Then I will clip it off back here. I'll probably bend it down just a little bit and then snip off the extra. I will do that on all of them. The upper one, we'll have to wait and see if I've got a drill bit that small, which I know I do, but I probably won't be able to use one of these eyelet posts. I'll probably have to use a real thin wire. Remember to taper your yards on both ends. Make that little oar handle. Also, don't forget to taper your masts. And I chose to paint them this time. And I've got another step I need to do on this. Let me show you that. A lot of the tall ships have these bands. The Victory actually had small ones all the way up. I chose to go ahead and just do 3 of this size and evenly spaced them. I spaced it from the deck of the ship that width, so this actually goes below deck a little bit. And then they're about 10 millimeters apart. This is the rope work that I'm going to try. This is the little thicker, and this is the thinnest I'll use, and just these two. Supposedly they're waxed thread used for leather working, I think. So I'm going to try it, see how it turns out. Again, I'll put a link to Amazon in the description of the video. If you're interested in trying it, you might want to see how it works out for me first. But there's plenty there to do numerous ships. After reviewing this photo, I've completely changed some of the things I'm doing. Notice these yards are actually black, and then the extension pole is more of a tan or a natural color, and then the ends of it are black. So here's a sample of what I've been working on. And I am going to use the eye hooks, and I think I'm going to leave the eye hooks in position. I like the way they look, and it doesn't distract from the looks of the model, so I'm going to leave them. To review how I made these, you can see, obviously, here's the hole I talked about earlier. Then this will attach, pre-drill a hole in the mast. This will go somewhat like that. So let me turn it this way so you can see. Then I drilled holes all the way through these. These little spacers I needed, and I had bought these earlier on another ship build. And these are glass seed beads. Size looks like 8/0, and these were from Hobby Lobby. They were $4 for this entire tube. If you're interested, the product number is 2030674, along with these eye hook thingies, also from the jewelry shop, $4 for the pack. Normally you can get these on sale for 40 or 50% off also. I drilled a hole, I think in these smaller ones first. Did that on the drill press, and let me show you that in just a second. Then I came back and I held the yard in place and drilled, put that through the pre-existing hole, drilled a pilot hole with this smaller one, then took it apart and then re-drilled the hole with a little bit bigger one so that this would fit through. To drill in the exact center, my son made me this contraption, and I think this is a 45-degree angle here and here, and then screwed these two separate boards together. They're probably about 2 inches tall, and then you just need to clamp it and make it so when you drop down the drill bit, you'll see it goes dead center in that valley where the peak of the valley is. I pre-marked where the center is on this yard arm. Test it, and I'll kind of hold it down sometimes, but I can use just the pressure of the drill bit going down will center it also. That's a tiny hole, but that gives me the centered hole on that. I can do the same thing with this smaller size, and again, these are going to be where it attaches to the yard, and I put a mark where I want it. So this is not centered on there, but it is centered on the center of the little dowel. And the second one. The trick here is you need to make. Let me put this up. The trick here, and I don't know that you can see, but this is in the way. But the first hole that I drilled, you've got to have that vertical because you want the two holes to match up. And I pretty much have it there. See if I can focus in here so you can see those two holes, and I'll show you how I attach them to the yard. Here's how I do this. This is the yard, and that's how it'll sit on the mast, so the mast would be vertical. And I pre-put this little drill bit in there because it needs to sit like that, and then I'll just eyeball how much over it goes, over the edge. Try as best I can to have it in the center. And now I will hand turn this little drill bit. Try and position it so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. These drill bits are very fragile, so I break quite a few of them. This one's a little thicker, so be okay. So there you can see it's all the way through. I can back that out. I need to hold it in the same spot because there's another one here. I think I've got it started, so I can turn it this way so you can kind of see. They're also very sharp, so be careful, otherwise when you come through the other end, you'll go right into your finger. Next will be a couple of these beads. I'll just pop out a few here. I want the eye on the yard side, so I'm gonna start on this end, find that hole. That's through. Now I need one of the black beads. And now I can put on that rod. There's the first one. What I've been doing is just bending this around. Once it's round enough to hold that in place, I can snip off the excess. I can just snip off the excess. I may come back and bend this under further at some point, maybe now. Here's the finished one. So it'll go on the mast, set like that, and then I can adjust the angle with some of the rope work. Here's the foremast and the mizzen mast. They're ready to go. I won't put them on until I get some of the rope work started. Here's a little flyover of the ship and the progress that I've made. If you look close, you'll see there's some cannons on the top deck, one on each side, and then I have some installed on the middle deck, and those are full cannons with, you know, the wheels and all the parts, and then there are 4 more back in this area. I've put all the parts and pieces that came with the ship, but I will mention one other thing. this little box right here did not come with the ship. I put this eyelet, and I was able to drill through here and then drill into the ship. Just makes them more stable. You almost have to have a drill press to be able to do that. This one did come up through the floor of the deck, so I just am going to put a crate there. And I will put a lot more little crates just made out of little pieces of wood, and I'll do that way towards the end. The other thing that I couldn't figure out, there were 2 extra ladders, and it seemed to me that they should go back here on each side. However, this railing went all the way across, so I just shortened up the railing. Just was a matter of removing one piece and went ahead and glued those ladders there. That will have to be your choice. In the next episode, I will talk about tying rat lines and how you do that. You can see I'm just barely started on the framework for that. This is Spoiler Dan 1, and as always, thanks for watching.